This is a demonstration of how StoreDEX by BIOS Systems can work with other applications and processes to automate the posting of data received from a DSD vendor to a back-end accounting system. StoreDEX runs as a service, so I'll go ahead and I will bring up the StoreDEX application in the service tray. I will right-click the icon and I will choose the StoreDEX settings. This will display the settings window, which among other things will show the communication port I'm currently set to monitor for the DEX files. I'm set to COM13, which if I look in the control panel in the device manager, actually shows COM13 as a USB to serial converter, since this computer I'm using does not have a standard serial port. I also have listed in here a couple of applications that are set to fire off once either a file is sent or received by StoreDEX. The first is the Auto Act Maker. This application will fire off once a file is received by StoreDEX. And what the Auto Act Maker does is it creates a acknowledgement file for the DEX process. The acknowledgement file allows the distributor to immediately receive an acknowledgement back from the retailer saying that the invoice is fine, and the process at that point ends. The other application that's set is the Office Update utility. This is an add-on product to StoreDEX that is sent to fire off when a file is sent by StoreDEX. The Office Update utility is what actually posts the data received by StoreDEX from the distributor to the backend accounting system. In our example here, which will be QuickBooks. So I'll go ahead and I will save these settings and restart StoreDEX with those settings, and I will bring up my accounting software, which is QuickBooks, which shows my dairy distribution company has no vendor bills, and it shows my quantities on hand is all being set to 0. I will then bring up the route accounting application, which already has one invoice created. I'll go ahead and I'll look at that invoice, and there's 2 lines of that invoice for a total of $64.10. I'll go ahead and I will start the DEX process. I'll plug into my cable, which is hooked into my USB to serial adapter, and I will send across the invoice. The invoice has been sent, so the acknowledgement has now fired off, and I should have an acknowledgement waiting. Once I receive that acknowledgement, then the Office Updater will fire off, and the Office Updater will update QuickBooks. So now, if I look at QuickBooks, I can see that the distribution company now does have a bill, and that equals $64.10. I can also see that my quantities have been updated for those items that were on those bills. Now I will go ahead and I will actually create a third process to fire off. This will be a simple batch file that I will create, and I will do that by creating the batch file that I'll go ahead and I will call dexcopy.bat. So I've created that file, save, extension change. I will now edit the file to just do a simple copy command. I'll just copy the file I pass as a parameter, and I will copy to the same DEX files folder, and I will call it dexfile.txt. Go ahead and I'll save that. And now I will go back into StoreDEX in the settings. And I will add that DEX copy to my list of process to fire off. And I will have it fire off once the DEX file is received from the distributor, and I will pass it the parameter of the file that was received. So now that's in there. I'll go ahead and I will start up StoreDEX again. And And then I'll take my handheld and I'll just create a simple one-line invoice. With a quantity of 1. We'll save that. We'll select that as the invoice to send. Now that the file has been received, you'll see that I now have a DEX file.txt located in my DEX files folder. If I open that up, you can see that that has the $2.99 price for the gallon of chocolate milk, and the quantity is 1. So that process worked as I would expect. Now I'll go ahead and I will just finish off the DEX process. We'll receive the response. And now once again, I have a dairy distributor. If I look at my vendor bills, I do have the second bill in here for $2.99. And that's a simple explanation of how the process works for writing a external process. If you have any more information that you need, please contact Systems at the information on the screen.